Hello guys, and welcome back. Today I would like us to have a conversation on methods in Java. First, let me speak about something. So I want you to put yourself in a scenario. So it's a busy Monday morning. John has just started his first ever job as a junior software developer at a tech startup that is located in Westlands, Nairobi. So his very first task from his manager is to build a simple self-service kiosk system for a Safaricom shop. So the kiosk should let customers buy airtime and data bundles on their own. No queue, no waiting for an agent. So John is excited but nervous. So he starts out by coding everything inside main, the only way he knows how to. So his manager walks over, looks at his screen and says, "John, this will work for one customer, but what happens if or when 100 customers walk in?" John stares at his code and realizes the problem. That is exactly where methods come in. So what you can see right now is the current picture of what John has created so far. It works very fine, but the problem is what his manager has just stated out. So imagine your very first day as a developer. Your manager gives you a task that sounds simple. Build a kiosk for a Safaricom shop. So you open your laptop, you crack your fingers and dive straight into main. It sounds familiar, I know. That's exactly what John did, and this is what he wrote. By all accounts, by all means, John is not wrong up to this point, because this is what he knows, this is how he has been doing it, writing everything from main. Problem is, for the current customer, we have Brian and we have Amina. Those are only two customers. The code is okay, no problems, no challenges. But what if we get a third and a fourth and a fifth customer? It means that John is going to be forced to repeat the same block of code over and over again. So back to the question. Your manager has just told you that this shop gets 200 customers per day. So is John going to write this block 200 times? His fingers would fall off, obviously. More importantly, if Safaricom changes their greeting message, for example, John would have to update it in 200 different places, 200 different blocks of code. So one mistake and the whole system is broken. There must be a better way, and surely there is. So that is where methods come in. So the manager, being mindful and helpful of his junior on his very first day, pulls up a chair next to John. Then he will start explaining. Think of a method like a standard operating procedure. That's the first statement he's going to open with. So you write the steps once, you give it a name, and anyone can follow it whenever needed. And we can start off with the kiosk's welcome screen. It's a simple starting point, very simple starting point, but it's at least something that is going to allow us to I want to cut all this out first. Actually, there is no need of cutting it out. What I can do is I can just disable that whole block of code. We don't need it right now. We're going to come back later to it and have a look at probably what we can copy from it. Now, first rule about methods is this. A method can exist anywhere within your class, but a method can never be inside another method. That is a very important rule that we should maintain. So first thing I'm going to do, just in between my class and the main method there, I'm going to create a method. So I'll use the same signature as main, public, static, and void but then I'm going to call my method show welcome banner. Welcome banner right there. So the message is simple. The welcome banner is already here. I'll just copy it up to that point, and we may have to add, we may just have to add some few lines, trying to disable the comments right there. Good. So that is the welcome banner. We can maybe spruce it up a bit, add some more life into it. So I can add another statement or line down here, maybe powered by M-Pesa, just something. Then from there we can add something below the ruling or the line there. So we can say welcome, please choose a service. And after that, probably we can add an empty line down there. Good. So from there, let me just put some space to push all that code away from the screen. This is what I want to do in main. I'll just come here and add a line, which I will explain in a moment. So what we expect to happen here is every customer amongst the 200 customers that we expect sees the same banner, which is called once per session. So in order for a method to be usable, a method has to be invoked or called. That's one. But before we get there, let me start here. What we have on line number 6 is simply what we call the syntax, the structure of the signature of the method. Now public, static and void is the same signature as what we get down here in main method. Simply for now, think of it this way: these three words come before every method that we are going to write. Doesn't always have to be all methods, but for now let's just keep it simple, and in a future video we will unpack them more. So public obviously can be accessed by any class. Then void, let me leave out static for now. Void means that the method does not return anything. Next we have show welcome banner. So this is a descriptive name and it tells you exactly what it does. That is actually in line with the good naming practices or the naming conventions of Java. So this is a habit that you as a developer are supposed to build early on in advance. Then what else do we have? We have this line here, line number 21. When we call show welcome banner, it's the same as just pressing a button on the kiosk. So one button is pressed, one job is accomplished or done every time. So for the 200 customers, we get the same message, exactly the same. So that is our first dive into methods. For now, let me just run it, and this is what we get. Something simple. Print line statements, but they have been displayed because of a method, or rather because we created a method. That's our starting point. Now methods come in different forms. One, a method can be void, as we have here, because this method is not expected to return anything. A method can also have what we call a return type. Number two, inside this pair of brackets here immediately following the method name, we would expect that some methods are going to have what we call arguments. Same case that we have in main here, the string array. Now the banner is done, we are okay up to that point. Next, John is going to show his manager what he has done so far. So the manager is obviously going to congratulate John because it's a good starting point, considering John had not created methods up to today. So it's a good start, but every customer is different, obviously. For example, there is a customer called, earlier we had Brian here. Brian wanted airtime only. We also had Amina who wanted data bundles. They are expected to use the same service, but the same kiosk, sorry, but they are going to be accessing different services. So the kiosk needs to know who it is serving and what they want before it can do anything useful. So John realizes that his method or methods need to accept information, and that is where the arguments or the parameters comes in. Now the show welcome banner is fine up to this point, works well, but let's try and customize this for every customer who walks in. So maybe we can create a method called we can say what, greet customer. So same signature, public static void greet customer there. But this time round I want to do something different. I would like to add two parameters here. One is going to be the name of this customer. Number two, I would also be picking the phone number of this customer. Phone number, yes, there, so that we can at least make this easier, or rather personalized. Let me use that word. So first thing that we're going to say is let me just use hello, or actually Jumbo, and then we're going to append or concatenate the name of the customer there. Then at the far end probably we can add an exclamation mark. Then we could display the phone number here, so your phone number. Then we can also concatenate the phone number there, and then we can now display this for them to choose a service. One might be buying airtime, the other one might be buying data bundles, but they're still using the same kiosk. So with that said, we can come down here and go ahead to invoke the method. I'm not going to, okay, let me disable this for now. Then we're going to start with greet customer. So the first customer we had, I think, was Brian, whose phone number was 0712678 just something. Then we are going to go ahead and invoke the customer, or sorry, the method again, greet customer. So this time we had Amina, different phone number, obviously, just something at least. Then I can go right ahead and test this. So we get first greeting to Brian, the phone number for Brian is that. Next we get a greeting to Amina, whose phone number is that. Now we were talking about this line here initially. The welcome banner is supposed to be displayed to every customer, so it means that this invocation to the method is supposed to be active for both Brian and Amina right there. Doesn't change much, just that yes, we start by the welcome banner, then it goes straight into greeting and welcoming the customer, who is Brian, next banner first, then greeting and welcoming Amina, who is the second customer. So far that is what we have. Think of a method. I know for most of you might have used the USSD, Safaricom USSD. Think of it like a Safaricom USSD form. So the form has blank fields, name, phone. Those blank fields are the parameters. So when Brian fills in his name and number, those real values are the arguments that are going to be picked up at this point when they fill in their name and phone number. So the form was designed once, but every customer fills it in differently. So when we call the method at this point here, the rule that we are supposed to maintain is quite simple. Number one, the arguments are both strings. So whatever we're going to be passing to the methods, or rather the method invocation, are supposed to be strings, both of them. Number two, we only get two arguments, two parameters, so we cannot pass more than two. If we were to attempt to do that at this point here, what we get is an error, and it's going to tell us there is no such method that has been created, unknown method, because the only greet customer that exists has two arguments. Okay, next, let's maybe we are telling each customer to choose a service. So we were talking about one customer buying data bundles, another one buying airtime. So just allow me to copy and paste this method. I'll just paste it down there. Obviously we're going to get an error because greet customer with two parameters already exists, but if I come here and add a third parameter, our error is automatically going to disappear. So greeting, the phone number is displayed. Next, we're going to display the chosen service there, like that. Now let me explain something at this point. There was no need for me to delete the first greet customer method. It's actually easier or simpler for me to create two different variations of this method but with the same name. There is a concept in methods that we call overloading. When it comes to methods, overloading is a concept where your method has the same name, or rather you have 2-3 different methods with the same name, but either different number of parameters or different data types of those parameters. What we have in this case is different number of parameters. When it comes to now the point where we're going to invoke the method, so greet customer, I'll just add a service here. So let's say Brian was buying airtime. How much was it worth? 50 bob. So let's say airtime 50 shillings, and Amina was buying data bundles 1 GB, which I think is 99 shillings. So data bundle, which is 1 GB daily, just something of that nature. So there we have it. When we run this, doesn't change much, only this line is going to be added, and this one here, which displays the chosen service, obviously. Let me try something. What if this method did not exist? There, I've just commented it out, but what if it didn't exist? and then we came down here and attempted to invoke that particular method. What we're going to get is a red line. The red line displays or shows us that there is an error. When you look at the error, there is an explanation to it. The method greetCustomer with 3 arguments in Safaricom Kiosk is what is found, but the arguments do not match what is expected. So these are some of the errors which you might encounter when you're working with methods. They are quite common. So let me just return this back to how it was. Now, so far the 3 methods that we have are void. They don't return anything. So at this point, John calls the manager. Manager is going to congratulate John on actually going a step further and creating an overloaded version of greetCustomer. So here is the real test though. The kiosk needs to calculate how much the customer pays, including tax, and also update their balance. So that calculation needs to happen somewhere, and the result also needs to come back to the main system. So you need a method that doesn't just do something, rather it needs to give something back. So John is going to pick up the challenge, as I know you'll do. Some methods are workers who just carry boxes, think of it that way, and some are workers who carry boxes and bring back a report. That's how John has understood it, and I am sure that is also how you have understood it. So let's create a method that actually returns something. So we already have greetCustomer, we already have welcome banner. Now let's create a method. Let's see the name. Maybe we can call it calculate cost. The first method, rather, we can just call it calculate cost. So same signature. Actually, I was thinking about the signature static, but instead of void this time round, let's make our method to return something, a number with a decimal point. Then calculate costs. So our method might have an argument, and let's call it base price. Oh, sorry, I added all this outside the brackets. Let's call it base price. First thing you'll notice from our IDE is that there is a red line just below calculate cost, and that is because the method is expected to return something and we are yet to add the return statement. What is this method expected to do? So we're supposed to calculate the cost with Safaricom excise duty, say 20%, and then we return the total. So maybe let's give a description first. Calculate cost with Safaricom excise duty of 20% and return the balance. Yeah, sorry, Safaricom doesn't have an E at the end, my mistake. So first let's calculate the excise duty. So it's obviously going to be a double, so we're going to take let's call it excise duty, that particular variable. So we're going to get the base price, we're going to multiply it by 20%, which is the same as 0.20. From there, let's calculate the total cost, which is what we expect the method to return, which is going to be the base price plus the excise duty. There. From there, we can confidently return the total cost. That is what we expect our method to actually return. Sorry, costs, if I can only spell. Okay, next, another method that actually returns something. Let's create a method that calculates the remaining balance and returns it. So this person bought airtime, bought data from M-Pesa, so we also need the balance that was there, or rather that remains. So calculate the remaining balance and return it. Return and return it. Same case actually. Public static void, let's call it calculate balance. Yeah, so for calculate balance we're going to start with sorry, this is supposed to be double, not void. So first parameter is the account balance, second parameter is the amount charged. There. So it's actually a simple calculation which we're going to do real quick. So we're going to call this remaining balance, which is equal to account balance minus amount charged. Then we're going to return remaining balance there. So we have our second method there. Let's add one more method. Now the final method, if I may call it the final method, because I actually think up to that point we should be good to go. The final method is a method that doesn't necessarily return anything, but the method is supposed to print the receipt, so to say. So I'm going to create the final method, static void print receipt, and we're going to have quite a few parameters in this. So we have to make it string. We have to make it personalized. So we're going to take the name, we're going to take the phone number. Let me use the convention. We are also going to take the service. We are going to take the total cost. We're going to take the remaining balance. There, I think that's all. Double. There, total cost. Sorry. Now let's see how we're going to print the receipt. So we can start off with a simple print line statement, just something. I'll just copy this if you allow me. We're going to have another print line there. Transaction complete. And remember, this is just basic. We're just outputting or displaying something. Then let's now go at it one item at a time to make it personalized. So this is name. We're going to display the name there. Next up we have the phone number. number, then we have the phone number there. Next, the service that this person chose. So you're buying airtime, you're buying data bundles, whichever service. Then total, how much did this person spend? So total spent, then this we called it total cost. Then after that we have the account balance, and I think we call it what, remaining balance there. So from there we can add probably, sorry, I meant to have this, so sorry, in the place of that right there. So you can just underline thank you for using Safaricom our helpline is 100 in case someone is in trouble and they might need help. Then we can just add a blank line down there. So we are good to go. Let's test it with Brian. So let me just add some space. I can actually just disable this. We only need to test for one customer. Okay, so for Brian, we have great customer where we have the name, phone number, and the airtime. So let's create a variable. We can call this Brian what, total. How much did Brian spend? So we can call the calculate costs method, and we are sure Brian bought airtime worth 50 shillings, so we are okay with that. Next we can create another variable, Brian balance. So in this we can call the calculate what, balance. In calculate balance we are supposed to pass the total that Brian spent. Sorry, let me see that again. Oh, account balance first and then the amount charged. So amount charged is what Brian spent up here. So this is okay. Let's make an assumption that Brian had 200 shillings in M-Pesa. So what do we expect after? Then finally we can call the print receipt method, print receipt, and in print receipt we expect all those parameters. So name is Brian, phone number is that, actually it was phone number followed by the service, so I can copy those. So phone number, service, then how much did Brian spend and how much is Brian remaining with in his account. So with that we're good to go. We can actually now just test this. So I'll run it. Let's start up top. So welcome banner was number 1, personalized greeting message to Brian, and then the receipt is printed down here. So the transaction is complete. The name is Brian, phone number, the service, Brian spent 60 shillings, account balance is 140. We made an assumption that Brian had 200. So thank you for using Safaricom, and the helpline is displayed as the final thing down there. Now up here, initially we began by using void or creating methods that don't return anything, but for calculate cost and calculate balance we actually changed that to double. So that's a promise to Java in a way. I will handle, or rather I will hand back a double, no excuses. It's a promise. The return keyword down here is the method physically handling, or rather handing, the result back. So think of Safaricom have Zawadi, the assistant, AI assistant. So Zawadi passing a printed receipt to the cashier rather than shouting the amount across the room. Think of it that way. Now, if for some reason you are to forget to add your return keyword, the compiler immediately complains, and the complaint comes in this form, a red line just below your method name. Since the method has a return type, it is expected to return something. So don't forget that. Those are some of the mistakes. Now, it is day 1. John runs the program. The receipt prints perfectly, as you saw, because we tested it out with you, this part here. So 3 customers are served, all different, same clean organized code. So the manager is going to look at John's screen and he's going to say, John, now you have understood methods. And it's true, John understands method or methods. So he went from one giant block of repeated code. What we initially disabled down here, it would have been messy. So one giant block of repeated code to a system with clear, reusable, named methods, each with one job, but all working together. So when it comes to methods, 3 key pillars that you should never forget. 1, how to define and how to call a method. You write a method once and you call it anywhere, just like a kiosk button that always works the same way. Number 2, it comes in here. Parameters and arguments. You pass in information so that the method can serve each customer differently. Number 3, for any method that has a return type, the method has to return something. Some methods don't just act, they hand something back, a cost, a balance, a result, of which the rest of the program can use. Now, let me throw you a challenge as we are winding up. Safaricom wants to add a loyalty reward. So from the simple code that we have just created, any customer who spends over 500 shillings in one transaction gets a free 100 MB bonus. So write a method that is called check loyalty reward that takes the total cost as a parameter and returns true if they qualify or false if they don't. Test it with Brian. Brian was our first customer here. So test it with Brian, test it with Amina, or whichever other customer. So drop your code in the comments, and please remember, I am keen and I read every one of them. So thank you so much for coding along with me. Thank you for listening to me. I will see you in the next one.